This is a really quick scam awareness video about an email I received yesterday, which under certain circumstances might look like a fairly convincing and genuine message. Here's the email body. It says, Emergency Alert Confirmation. The UK government conducted a test of the Emergency Alert Service on Sunday the 7th of September 2025. This system warns the public if there is a life-threatening emergency nearby. To help us assess how reliably these alerts are delivered, please answer the question below. Did you personally receive this alert last weekend? And there are links in the email saying, yes I did, and no I did not. Your responses help us to confirm coverage across the country. Thank you for your cooperation. There's nothing egregiously wrong looking about the email body. None of the common errors of grammar or spelling that we might be looking out for in a scam email. In fact, the only mistake I can see is the missing space after the full stop here. It has the government crest and branding. It's talking about an event that did actually happen last weekend, which was a test of the emergency broadcast system. And it just reads like a perfectly benign survey asking people to confirm if the alert system worked for them. It even has some blurb at the bottom here about suspicious emails. But this isn't a message from the government. The from address on this email is a random Russian mailbox. That is an obvious giveaway that this isn't a genuine email. But in this case, it's really the only obvious giveaway. And here's the real danger. Depending on the email client that you use to read this email, the email address of that mailbox may not be visible when you first open the message. For example, here's what it looks like on the Outlook app for Android. The headers are collapsed and it only shows the friendly name for the mailbox, which claims to be Government Digital Services. Only if you expand those headers do you get to see that something is amiss. And this sort of compact presentation happens in a lot of email client software, maybe even some webmail services too. The links in the message go to some resource on Amazon AWS, which isn't right for a gov.uk message, although I wouldn't expect anyone to necessarily see anything suspicious in those URLs, and besides, government branches sometimes use third-party services for surveys and whatnot. So it's not impossible for a URL that looks generally like this to be genuine. It's obviously not genuine, and that's why I'm making this video. But what I'm saying is there's nothing about this URL that I would expect anyone to be automatically suspicious about. Except that the URL for the yes and no options is exactly the same URL. That tiny detail is a tiny red flag, but hardly worth mentioning because the people sending this message could have done that differently if they were bothered to. So, what would happen if you were to click this link? All I can tell you is nothing good. At the time of making this video, my highest priority is to get this warning out as soon as I can. So I've not performed any analysis of this link. However, I would say it's almost guaranteed to be one of two different options. Firstly, it could be phishing. Maybe the link will go to some fairly realistic-looking fake government page that walks you through the process of oversharing your personal data, maybe asking you for name and address and phone numbers, etc. And then this personal data would be used in some downstream attack, like a scam phone call, which sounds convincing to the victim because the caller knows things about them. Alternatively, it could just be malware. It might attempt to compromise the machine on which the link is opened, to install an InfoStealer Trojan, or ransomware, or a botnet client, or some other bad thing. Whatever it is, it's not going to be cake. I do realise it might be disappointing that I don't have a full analysis of the payload here, but as I say, my priority was to get this warning out to say don't click those links. At this point, I'm not even sure I will try to investigate the link further because even if I set up a completely secure environment in which to do that analysis, it looks like this URL contains parameters that might be unique to the recipient, in which case any interaction with the link would at the very least confirm that this is a mailbox where there's somebody who clicks links. And that might result in this mailbox, my mailbox, being more aggressively targeted by the attackers. In case you're wondering why I've obscured part of the URL, it's for a variety of reasons, including potential issues with YouTube, but also because if someone were to painstakingly transcribe it from the screen into their web browser, that would have the same mailbox confirmation effect to my mailbox, as I mentioned just a minute ago. So sorry, there is no I clicked it so you don't have to. What there is instead is I didn't click it and neither should you. If you think this was crafty, be on your guard for this and other stuff like it. If you don't live in the UK and you'd not have clicked these links because they're irrelevant, be on your guard for similar things that are targeted to your region. If you thought this was obvious and you would never have clicked on it, well done, but please spare a thought for the people around you, friends, relatives, work colleagues and other contacts who might be vulnerable to this kind of attack, and please take the time to share this warning with them. Not all cyber attacks are immediately obvious, and this is an example of one that may appear quite plausible and benign to many people. And this is why I've always said it's best to distrust email links by default. There are situations where it's sometimes necessary to click a link in an email, for example if you're expecting the email as part of an account reset. But in general, I think it's best to begin from a position where you treat any link in any email or other electronic message as suspicious. That's all I have for this message. Thanks for watching, stay safe from scams, and I hope to see you again soon.